Now joining us to discuss this development is Franc Utoo, a lawyer, humanitarian, media relations officer for equipping persecuted in a native, of course, Yelwata. And also joining us virtually is Temitope Olodo, the CEO and Managing Director, Trans Intelligence and Security Solutions. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So it's been almost a year. I'm starting with you, Frank. It's been almost a year since this very unfortunate incident, and you being a native of this community. What does it mean to finally see individuals being named in court for this very heart-wrenching massacre of over 200 people in your community?
Okay, so it is very pleasing to know that the prosecution of this suspect has started. But it could have been more pleasing if the police and other security agencies were able to stop the massacre of June 13 and 14 last year in my village. We got the intelligence report, we sent it to various security agencies and to the government, but they failed to attack. So these 278 people who were killed on that day will have been alive today by God's grace if the security agencies have really hearkened to our cries, but they didn't. But to God be the glory. We are seeking justice, and justice is on its way. Today, I saw the arraignment of the 8 people. I know 4 of those 8 people from what was paraded on your TV. I know them physically one-on-one, and they were part of the group that attacked Yelwata. And like the police said in your report, over 200 people, 200 of these daredevils attacked my community wielding AK-47 and general purpose machine guns. I have the contact of about 20 of those people who are still working free. I have the names of about 80 of these people who are working free today. Many of them are still in Kadorko. Many of them are still in Giza. Many of them are still in Ajaragu and Lafia and Kwara district of Kiana local government. What has happened to the Ardo of Kadorko? He was involved. What has happened to Alhaji Yusuf Garba? Yusuf Garba drives Sharon. He was the person who transported fuel to Yelwata that evening of Friday, 13th of June, 2025. The fuel that they used in burning many of these houses, some of these houses that consume my relatives, my friends, my neighbors, these people are still working free. What happened to Usman Abdullah Gamchi? He's still in Kadorko. What happened to Abdul Lawal? The Abdul who suffered stroke, the first defendant who suffered stroke, was the mastermind of this. That's the Abdul of Lafia, the Abdul of Nasarawa State. He lives in Lafia. He was the mastermind. He wasn't supposed to be taken to hospital to suffer stroke. He should have been taken to the IDP camp in Makodi at the international market in Makodi, where the IDPs of Yelwata are camped. Let him face them and tell them why did he do that?
So Frank, you already mentioned you mentioned other names that you believe should also be arraigned. Why these names? Have you provided these names to the relevant security? Do they know about these people? Because you're being very specific about it and very sure of what you're saying.
After this interview, I'm sending, because I thought they have these people in their custody. They are arraigning just 8. They are arraigning just 8.
9 actually.
The police themselves say over 200 of these guys came to my community and killed my people and carried out that genocidal attack in my community. Now you are arraigning just 8. What happened to the other 200? I have the names and contact details of about 20 of these people. Then I have the names of about 80 others without their contact details. And some of these persons, when you go to Kadorko today, you find them on the street. They are still going about carrying out their businesses. Some are into transport business. Some are into motorcycle riding in the community. And some have taken over tea farmlands. The farmlands of tea people in Kadorko, in Giza, in Kwara district, all the way to Tunga in Awe local government. They've taken over the possession of tea farmlands and are carried. They've become farms. They say they were headers, but many of them don't even own a single car. They've taken over, so they are carrying out an expansionist agenda that is meant to destroy and totally obliterate the tea people in their ancestral land. So we want to see the root of this matter. We want to see the root. I speak to you authoritatively. If there are 2 people in Nigeria who have full fact of what has been happening, it is I and the rest. On this matter, the matter that affects my community, the matter that affects the southern part of Nasarawa State, where you have a team majority in Doma, in Kiana, in Opi local government, and my own part of Benue State, because long before I came to the United States, I've been involved in it. I came to the United States just 2024 as a student. And after I graduated, I am working for equipping the persecuted and Truth Nigeria. I don't think the security agencies in Nigeria even have the kind of intelligence that we have in Truth Nigeria.
Well, I'm happy that you already mentioned that you're going to provide these names, to the relevant authorities. You said after this interview. Now, I want to ask Temitope. There's something he mentioned at the beginning. He said, regardless of us seeing what is happening in court right now, and these people being on trial, that it could have been prevented. So let's talk about intelligence network. What could have been done? How can security agencies better prevent, these attacks, especially from them organizing and actually then, spread into different parts?
Thank you so much for having me. I think it is very clear from the way my brother there is speaking that intelligence already exists. Now, the way in which this intelligence is being used is the issue of debate at the moment. Also, quite interesting is the fact that majority of the people involved in this atrocity and diabolical act are people known to the community, whether they are riding Okada or walking around, so they have knowledge of the environment and they know how to actually cause maximum damage. But what is also important from the court's information and record is that Nasarawa is now an exporter of extremism and terrorism, whether we like it or not, because most of those individuals actually carried themselves or got those fundings from there, i.e., they did what you call crowdfunding and went into this diabolical act. And I am a bit worried because this shows a new dimension. Because the concern was that they said there was an attack of their cattle, there were attack on their people. But myself, you, and the media, and most of our listeners, when are not aware of any news of any cattle being killed, any cattle being any Fulani person being killed in this particular axis of Makodi axis. So it's very clear now that this was a preempted attack of mass murdering of innocent individuals. And just like my brother clearly mentioned, these individuals' name need to be given to the police so that they could do what is necessary to arrest those people and gather intelligence to ensure that those people appear in court. What I'm pleased with is that even though, from June to now, it's a bit of few months have gone through, but at least this is not like the previous cases of attack where attack happened. They say there's going to be arraignment of individuals and we wait for months or years. But at least within a 6 months gap, we are seeing, this incident happening. And I want to encourage my brother to gather as many people within the community who are eyewitnesses to ensure that they make themselves available, through advocacy and whatever means possible to ensure that justice is gained for those families that are lost and for those Nigerians that were helpless on that fateful day.
All right, Temitope, but we're going to come back to this. We're going to go on a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue on this conversation. There is still a lot more to talk about on this. Do stay with us. Well, we're just talking about the prosecution and the trial, rather, going on with 9 suspects that are complicit in the 2025 massacre in Yelwata. And I have with me Franc Utoo and also Temitope that is joining me, and we've been talking about this. Now, I'm going to go back to you, Franc, because earlier on I was asking Temitope how we can deal with our intelligence, like having to receive this, or rather stopping these attacks before it happens. Now, Franc, beyond the courtroom, what is happening right now, what we're seeing play out, how has the lack of accountability affected the displaced survivors and, of course, the ongoing equipping the persecuted efforts in Benue State? And also, I have to ask, given the testimonies that neighbors in Nasarawa State allegedly commissioned these attacks, is there any path left for peaceful coexistence at all between any of these communities?
Okay, thank you very much. Very vital question. First of all, look, for us to attain peace, there must be justice. Martin Luther King Jr. said, peace is not the absence of crisis, but the presence of justice. And so the people who perpetrate this evil act must be held to account. And not just these foot soldiers. We pay so much attention to these foot soldiers. Let's talk about the patrons, the oligarchs who are behind this. That Almajiri who came to Yelwata with AK-47 is not capable of buying that AK-47. And that's the same Almajiri you find on the streets of Lafia, on the streets of Kadoko, on the streets of Ajaru, begging with bowl, begging you for 100 naira. And an AK-47 goes for about 3.5 million naira. Let's get these people who, right from the emirs to the political class of many of these Fulani clans, up to the traditional institutions. Look, like my brother said, Nasarawa State for so long has been a sanctuary to these guys. From the time of Amakura, when those guys were imported in 2013 to 2014, imported, just like what many of these APC chieftains were able to attest, that they brought them in 2013, 2014 for the election of 2015. They infiltrated, they saturated the forest of Nasarawa South, amongst other forests, Southern Kaduna, Plateau, Zamfara, with these guys. We are well aware that time. Al-Makura came out, when we accosted him, he came out to say, these are international hunters. Does Nasarawa State have international hunting routes? No. But he described these are the same guys. Many of them are French speaking. When you accost many of them, when they pick a call, they will say hello. That the French way of answering hello on a call. They say hello. They came from neighboring French communities, countries, and they infiltrated the forests of Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State have for so long been a sanctuary. We keep repeating, and that is why they are always deliberate in making sure that the governor is a proxy to the caliphate at every point in time. At every point in time, when the indigenous people of Nasarawa State want to gain governorship, they'll foist a governor on them so that they'll continue to create a sanctuary in Nasarawa State for these guys to be attacking Benue, to be attacking Plateau, and to be attacking Southern Kaduna. So, but for the purpose of accountability will go to a very great extent to assuage the feelings of our people. When we see these guys line up to the gallop, because the criminal law in Nigeria still establish death sentence for this kind of offense. Let the government of Nigeria lift that moratorium.
All right.
Let them apply this death sentence on this guy. Let's go. Let's gather our people in Yelwata. Let's go to the field and see these guys hang to death.
Okay.
Because they have to pay for this. We are after accountability.
Absolutely.
The other arm of it is in the intelligence gathering that I've told you. I work for Equipping the Persecuted, and we have the Truth Nigeria. If you listen to this congressional hearing 3 months ago in the US, many of the congressmen were making references to Truth Nigeria. That's our organization that they got their information from Truth Nigeria. It's a very reliable organization. We carry out very strong intel. We have intel on ground, and that is why we could call these names
absolutely
for you one by one.
And like I already said, I'm hoping that the needful will be done, which is you, with the intelligence you've gathered, working with the police to also help with the case, because the federal government is handling this. We have the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, who is leading the council. So they are moving and pushing on this, and we're hoping that you do work hand in hand, like you already mentioned. Now, before I'll let you go, Temitope, please let me know, now that local leaders have been named in court, you've heard the report, what impact would this have on breaking the culture of impunity and influential sponsors of violence? As quickly as you can, please.
Thank you. One thing that we could be clear about is that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been quite intensive in terms of how they are moving, and we could see the influence of America. In fact, and my brother and some of the pressure groups that is making sure that justice is being given to family members of those that have been slain. One of the things that I would like to see more done is the area of conflict entrepreneurs. We need to break their back. People that are sponsoring this incident need to be dealt with, but more importantly, we need to clear off dangerous weapons. Military grade weapons should not be in the hands of ordinary Alumajiris and all these people that are having secret meetings. It shows you that our intelligence is weak and there is challenges in our intelligence. We are giving a lot of money into the intelligence sector, but we are not seeing major returns there. So I believe that the Nigerian Senate and also the legislators, the House of Representatives, need to actually bring in this intelligence team to have a conversation with them. But more importantly, I think our Senate House or our legislative house need to learn from the Americans. Look at how my brother and other people could go in to give account, to tender intelligence information. Why is it that our legislators cannot hold hearings that people that we in the UK, in America, that have very important information to give them, can actually get involved and give them intelligence that will inform legislation, that will inform actions, and will inform how Mr. President is able to tackle these security challenges. Because most of us don't want to stay in the cold here, and you go, my brother is stressed, and myself, where we are stressed. We want to come back home, but we can't come back home if the security continues to be worsened on a daily basis.
Thank you so much. We've been talking to Franc Utoo, a lawyer, humanitarian, media relations officer for Equipping the Persecuted, and a native of Yelwata. So he's been giving us firsthand reports, and also joining me was Temitope Olodo, the CEO, Managing Director, Traz Intelligence Security Solutions. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.